Welcome to the continuing adventures for our adventure game in multiple languages. We're back to Python again this time. This was meant to be the last in the series where we are now going to load in from file, but I suspect we'll end up making another one and you'll see why shortly. So let me just run this through so you can see what differences there are. Just make sure we're on the main one here. Hit the button. Right, so nothing new here. I'm going to hit no again. So this time we've got a different menu that pops up immediately, and it's saying select the game that you want to load. There are two possible games: the default game, which is basically the same as the one that is hard coded in, and then this second one, which is a completely different game. So I'm going to hit that one because it works perfectly with default game text. You wouldn't know you weren't running it from the built-in code. So we're going to load that one in. Now you see the first minor grumble we've got, if we just get that out of the way, is that there are obviously some other entries that have gone off the top because the script is kind of cut short. So we had, I think, possibly one more location that is kind of missing. I've got no method of scrolling here, so that needs to be fixed so that we can see all of the different locations that are here. Also, you'll see that the descriptions here are quite long, and so that has kind of scrolled round, split words. I mean, this is only the debug, so I shouldn't be that fussy about it, but it's just irritating that it's gone round like that because the descriptions are long. Also, this one here needs a key retriever item to get into the room, and again it's messing up the layout. So work could be done on tidying this up. So nothing to be done at the moment, but it's just something that it irritates me. So we're going to press enter to continue. Now this one's different. It says, can you escape from school? As usual, of course, it wants your name. So we're chosen to beat the school bully this time. And then a different set of characters. Obviously, I'm a nerd, so we'll go for the nerd. Then we've got the characters there. Can you defeat the bully and escape? Okay, that's our... So now... we've got, it says you're in the dormitory in the 60s, there are a number of empty beds, the room is untidy. This again is kind of scrolling off of the side. I would like to keep that within the console piece. Now obviously I could stretch this out or make it wider, but I want to try and keep it to an 80 column if I can. But so again, that's something that needs to be looked at, and also you'll see it affects the menu at a later stage when we've got a very long description. So we've got, as before, we've got these various menu items. There's nothing really different there. Let's try going north to the cupboard. It says I need the rusty key in my inventory to get there. Okay, well, we've got that here, look. So let's look at rusty key, which is 3. An old rusty key looks like the sort used for a cupboard. Oh, that's very, very, very handy. Now we know. So we can take that. It's in my backpack. And now we want to go north to the cupboard. Okay, so we use the rusty key. We're inside the cupboard. Again, we've got this kind of doubled up line, which is slightly irritating. So what we need to do is to, when we've got a very long description, which is great as far as the look of the adventure goes, but we need some way of formatting this text so that it looks neater. Maybe put it in some kind of separate box, and also perhaps to extend the menu to the full width of the screen. There's lots of different things that we could do there. So again, we've got the choices in here. We've got a coat hanger and paper. So let's examine the coat hanger. A wire coat hanger. Okay, great. We'll take that. Let's examine the paper. Sheet of paper, torn from a school exercise book. Okay. So paper's in the backpack. Right, so now it says go south to the dormitory. So we'll do that. And let's see if we can go south to the stairwell. Now, here we've got the start of a problem. Because the description is now so long here, it's cutting off the bottom of the menu. So it's not anything too serious. It's easily fixed, but it's all to do with the formatting and knowing how many lines of text actually being printed out. So that's something we need to look at. We can still just about see the menu, but it's cut the bottom off. So let's just examine the pliers. Okay, and let's take them just for the hell of it. So now we want to go south to the office. It says we need the key retriever in our hand there. Now, the idea of this game is that we need to be able to craft some items. So what we've got in our, let's open our inventory. We've got a coat hanger and we've got some pliers. And we were just been told that we need the key retriever in order to empty the office. We've also got paper. So the idea of this was to make a little puzzle whereby you can use the pliers with the coat hanger so that you can bend it into shape and use that with the paper, which is here, to make a key retriever so that you can put the paper under the door. I think the office did say, let's quit out of here now, exit the menu. And let's see what we can go. Right, here I look in the stairwell. The doors have gaps under them. The door at the top has a key in the other side, if only you could get it out. So that's the clue. So by using the paper and the pliers and the wire coat hanger, we would somehow be able to make something that will get the key out. So this particular version of the game at the moment doesn't have a crafting technique, but we're almost there. We're almost geared up for it, because if you remember in the item class, we have uses, we have craft items, in other words, something that we can use to make it. So it's all kind of there ready to go, but at the moment this doesn't do anything. So we haven't really got much chance apart from quitting. So we'll quit now. And the usual message, of course. So let me show you now how this these new things actually work. So it's inside game.py. So let's start with load game. So if I quit, no, I've already quit. Let's step through. So we know that this is called from main. Here where it says game load game, if game.load game, and then we start to play. So we're going to obviously come into game load game. So let's stop it there. So we'll hit the, go to main, hit the start button. Do we want to disable debug mode? Don't think it's going to make a lot of difference. I'll put no for the time being. Right, so we're now into the load game. Now this is a new Boolean flag. I was playing about with these, so we've got a couple of them. So this is just a false, is a Boolean flag that we've chosen here. Is new game is true, success true. So these are kind of set up for the moment. Files as an empty string. Now os get cwd is go get the current directory. So this one will retrieve the current directory where the files are stored automatically for us. And then the load path, if I just hover over that, you can see it's quite a long path there. The load path is to join that current working directory with the games folder, which is here. So we've got 2 games stored in there. And then it's going to check next. Let's go out of this. We don't need to be looking through the operating system's stuff here. That's I think it's Shift F11 for the. Yep, there we go. So what we've got now is if the path exists, then we're going to get the files out of it using this. I know there's one you can use called glob, which gets certain types of file out of it, but this is just doing it direct from the operating system, so I didn't want to use the glob library. This is just a simple list of files, default game text and school text. If the length of the files is greater than 0, which it is, then we're going to call this function here, is new game load file name equals game load menu, passing the current directory and the list of files. So what that does is, if the length of files is greater than 0, it's going to call the menu with the files that are in there, which is default game.txt and school.txt, and that's going to give us our option to choose whatever we want. And as long as it loads it in, it's then going to return true and return the choice of game there. So let's run that. I'll put the thing there and we'll press the button so that it gets us to here. So which one do we want? I'm going to put I'll put the default game text in this time because that one I know runs properly. So we're going to return that. Let's press F11. Are we in the... Yes, let's escape from that. Okay, so we've got is new game is true and load file name is the link to this file here. Then we're going to F11. So we've got the from file attempt is set to true, and then we're going to try and load from file, passing in the name of that file. So let's press F11, and we're going into the load from file function here. So we've got these couple of little functions up here which are private functions to this load from file. So we're not actually using them just now, but you'll see how they're used in a moment. So these are functions within functions, they're nested. So let's F11 past those two. We've set a default value of the return value as false, and if the file name is not equal to an empty string, so now we're going to open that file. Let's skip out of this. And then we're going to get the lines by stripping out each line in the file, and then we're going to go, so this is going to get us a list of lines. So let's press F11. It's going to go forever. Right, let's go down to that point until we get to it. Right, so we've set up a bunch of variables here. These are all local variables inside this definition, so they're kind of used and reused every time that we go through the lines. So the lines is, as you can see, quite a large number of lines, and that will read them. So before going any further, I just wanted to show you how this is structured. So I'm going to take the default games text and put that in. So when I thought about saving and loading from a file, I thought, now what file format shall I use? JSON, CSV, there's all kinds of things there. And eventually I came up with a kind of, I wanted it to be able so that I could give one of my students a sheet of paper and say, okay, write a game file for this game. Now, they probably won't know how to do it in XML or JSON with all the various endings and so on. But this is very similar to the old Windows, what do they call them? INI files. So you had just simple text here. So you can see how I've done it. I've put, to start with, item.name equals, and then whatever it's called. Not in quotes, just a very simple name. So the key card, item.description equals, there it is. You remember this from the last time. Let me just increase the font a bit more so you can see this is almost identical to the built-in game. Craft items empty, use is 0, item container empty. Then we've got a torch. So we're repeating this item name description uses container, item name container, item name container, as you see. Then we've got a weapon name description craft items uses container. So we've got the kind of dot separation of what we're doing. Then we've got an enemy with its name, description, health, strength and drop item. Then we've got location now, name, description and so on. Now if there's something that needs more than one item, like a list of items, what I've done there is, here we are, there's an example. Look, player.characters equals fighter semicolon, wizard semicolon, ninja semicolon, priest. So this is relatively easy to just write out by hand a game plan, which can then be loaded in. Now the narrator, intro, data, greeting, start, death message, and end message is just simple text, again separated by semicolons. So we've got, obviously in this one, we've got 1, 2, 3 lines in that one. So this is the way, and then finally the game.current location is the hotel room. So that file can be now loaded in, and that will take over the game. So let's show you how it does that. So we're in here, we're not actually running at the moment, are we? No. So we're in here, and the file name, as file's been opened, we've set up these temporary variables, and now we're going to do 4 line in lines. Oh, we are still running, that's fine. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll come down to here and press the green button, and so we're now there. So this isn't going to read now the first line, so we'll press F11, and that line is item.name equals keycard. I'm sorry I can't make the tooltip any bigger than that, but that's what it says, item.name equals keycard. So what we're doing is to take that line and split it on the equal sign. So obviously if the line is item name equals keycard, it's going to split into item name and keycard. So let's press the F11, and sure enough, our parts is item.name and keycard. Temporary value here is to take the parts 0, which would be item.name, and split that using the dot. So we've got item.name, and we're going to split that using the dot. So if you press F11, so temp will now be another list, and you've got item and name. So we've now got this kind of temporary variable, and from there we can extract the object and the property. So the object is temp0, which is item, and the property is temp1, which is name. So we've got the item is the object and name is the property. So we're trying to sort of get as close as we can to what we're using in our classes. Now the value here is going to be set to parts 1. So if you remember, parts contains key card. Parts 1, sorry, contains key card. So the value is a key card. So now we're going to check with what our object is. So our object, if it is item, it is. Yep. So we're going to move into this loop. If it was weapon, we'd move into here. If it was enemy, we'd move into here. Location here. Player here. Game or narrator. So this shows you how we're kind of splitting up what we're reading in. Now the property is name. So we're going to step into here. If the property equals name, then name equals value. And the value, of course, was keycard. So we've got the keycard stored, and we're moving on to the next line now. So the next line is item.description equals a magnetic strip keycard property of Premier Inns. So you can see we're going to be doing the similar process. We're going to split that line, first of all with the equal sign, then the dot sign to get the object, property and value. So now the object is still item, its property is description, and its value is a magnetic strip keycard property of Premier Inns. Now we're going into the if statement. It's not name, it's the description. Now here I've got the value, and if there was a new line character inside it, this would automatically replace the new line character with the double slash that appears in the text file with a single slash here to make it into a new line. So that's just to kind of catch longer names. So it doesn't actually make any difference here. So we can press F11. So we've got the description and so on. So we're going to go now through all of the parts. The last one that we're using is the container, which, if I remember right, let me just go back to, don't need that one. Let's just go back to our container is an empty string. So even though we're not using it, I've still put it in this file. So the container is an empty string. And when it gets to that point, which we'll get to now, not only will it tell us what the container value is, it will then call add to items. So let's put the next stop sign in there, and we'll hit that. Let's see what we've got. Property is now its uses. So let's go through it again. So the property is container, and the container equals the value, which is of course an empty string. And now we're going to call add to items, which is why we had an add to items function in here, although it did seem a bit pointless because all we were doing was updating the shared items with, why did we not do it directly in? Well, that's why there is a separate add to items, so that it can be used for when we're reading in from a file. So now we're going to add the key card, the description, empty craft items, uses and container. So that's gone through the first few lines of our file, and the next one it goes through, I want to stop this time on where it's got fix int value. That's probably best done in the location, I would think. No, location we can fix the value, fix list, here we go. So I'm going to put a stop point there, and then when we get to the player's health, I want to put a stop point there so that I can show you how this fix int and fix list subroutines are used up here. So let's untick that, and untick that, and let it run through. Okay, so we're now looking inside the location, and the current property that we're trying to do is the items within that location. Object is location, items. Have we got anything in the value? Yes, we've got just a key card in there. So it's now going to call this fix list. So if I press F11, it's going to jump to this one up here. Look, fix list. The value is a key card. And then it says if the value is not equal empty string, then we're going to split the value if it happened to be a list separated by semicolons. So we will press F11, and now of course we don't have a semicolon in there, so this won't actually do anything. So if we press F11, it's just going to give us, where are we? We were down here somewhere. Location, won't we? I must have unticked. Oh, here we go. So that's what we were doing just now. So it would have given us our list inside our string there. So we'll just let that continue until we get down to the value one now. What's the value in these ones? Torch and sword. Yeah, that's what I wanted. I wanted a double value. So we'll go into. So the value at the moment is a string that says torch semicolon sword, and I want that as a list. So all I have to do is split that, and then that will return us the torch and sword inside our list. I can show you that. No. Okay, so F11 again. Right, so hopefully the items we can now see. Yes, torch, comma, sword inside our square brackets. So the list value has been fixed. So from our file where we had the value of, oh, that's of course is empty now, semicolon separated things, we've now created a list from it. And the same thing is going to apply when we get to fixing values, which I believe I've put in the player. Game player, yes, down here. So when we get to the player's health, so let's continue with that. Right, so the value for the player's health is an empty string. We didn't give it any value at the moment. So we want to give it a minimum value. So let's press F11. So what we've said in this fix int is that if the value is 0, give it a value of 60 as a minimum. So we'll press F11. And what we're going to do is see if we can convert the value, which is empty string, into an integer. That's why we've got to try except. The default is 0 if we hadn't passed it, but because we gave it a value, our new default is 60. So because that's going to fail, there we go, we've got this error down here. It'll now go into the catch one, and it will return the default value of 60. So that's just a way of making sure that if we don't have anything in our file that can be converted into a number, we're given at least a default value. So that's how that works. It goes through the whole file, collecting the data out of it and putting it into the correct places by using, in this one, add to locations, add to enemies, add to weapons, add to items. Then when we get down to towards the bottom there, it's actually directly giving the player its because the player's not an object, it's a single static class, so we can just directly give it those values. Same with game, we can set the current location directly, and the same with narrator. That's also, so we can give the greetings to the narrator there. So that's how it works from loading stuff in. Once it's loaded them all in, then it goes to the check locations again. Now, as it stands, there's nothing to check what has been loaded in with regards to the items and enemies, because if we just because we're not creating default items, that is where the debug thing worked. So again, that might be something that needs improving, so that we can load in from a file, and if we've got debug mode on, or if there's an error, it will then tell us, well, you've put something daft in your file. So that's how running from a file works. Then the game as from then continues as normal, but I thought it would take quite a while to go through this loading in from files, so I thought it was worth spending an entire thing on it. What we'll do now is just to carry on. Let's get the console up. There we go. So there's just one other thing I wanted to show you. This is again back to the dungeon one, because we loaded in the default text. Let's choose anything there. Now, the change I made as well on this one is, here we are, when the menu has been altered now, so that when it says go east, it actually tells you what is to the east. So if I go east now, then I've got go north to the reception, go east to a lift, and go west to a hotel room. So that has definitely improved the usability, because otherwise you didn't have a clue, well, what is north, what is east, what is west. Now you've got that kind of telling you what's there. So let me just show you how that was done. That was actually in the location class, if I remember. Yeah, let's just increase the font here. So what we've done in the location class now is to, I actually did it with two lists here, but I have a feeling I've since condensed that down into one. But you can see the point that we're doing this exits append north, south to north, so that it gives you the direction that you can go with this arrow, and then whatever it is, whatever the name of that location is that you're going to, which is quite handy. Okay, so that's it for the Python version, and as I say, I might well do a final version where loose ends are tidied up, it all looks neat, and so on, and just show you how that's done. But I thought loading from a file was quite an important step, so best handled on its own.